With every passing moment, Bai Suzhen's desperation grew. The sight of Xu Xian's lifeless body haunted her thoughts as she raced toward the forbidding peaks of Mount Kunlun. She had to act quickly. The longer Xu Xian remained dead, the slimmer the chances of bringing him back. But the journey ahead was perilous, and even with her powers, Bai Suzhen knew that retrieving the life-giving herb would not be easy. Mount Kunlun was a place few dared to venture. It was said to be the dwelling of gods and immortals, guarded by powerful beings who would not easily give up their treasures. Bai Suzhen knew that the herb she sought was guarded by the old man of the South Pole, a powerful immortal who would not part with it willingly. But none of this mattered to her now. Her love for Xu Xian was stronger than any fear, and she was willing to risk everything to save him. Welcome to the mysteries of mythology, the legend of the White Snake. As she approached the mountain, the air grew thin and cold, the peaks shrouded in mist and mystery. Bai Suzhen, undeterred, pressed on. She stood at the foot of Mount Kunlun, the legendary home of gods and immortals, its towering peaks hidden in a shroud of mist and clouds. The mountain was known to be a place of great power and mystery, where few dared to tread. But Bai Suzhen had no choice. Her husband's life depended on the rare herb guarded by the old man of the South Pole, and she would stop at nothing to obtain it. Bai Suzhen began her ascent. The journey was treacherous from the start. The mountain paths were narrow and steep, the air thin and biting cold. As she climbed higher, the terrain became more perilous, with jagged rocks and sudden drops that would deter even the bravest of souls. Nevertheless, Bai Suzhen persisted, her thoughts consumed by Xu Xian and the love propelling her forward. The higher she climbed, the more otherworldly the landscape became. Strange formations of rock jutted out from the mountainside, and the wind carried with it the eerie whispers of ancient spirits. Bai Suzhen could feel the presence of powerful beings watching her, but she did not waver. She knew the old man of the South Pole would not part with the herb easily, and she prepared herself for whatever trials awaited her. After hours of grueling ascent, she reached the entrance to the old man's domain. It was marked by a grand, ancient gateway, adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to come to life under the moonlight. Beyond the gateway, the path led to a silver bridge suspended over a deep chasm, the only way to reach the old man's abode. As Bai Suzhen stepped onto the bridge, her heart pounded. She had come too far to turn back now. She crossed the bridge, her steps quick but cautious, and soon found herself at the other side, where two of the old man's disciples stood guard. With their stern expressions and imposing presence, these disciples were no ordinary beings. They were cranes, transformed into human form, loyal to their master and ever vigilant. They eyed Bai Suzhen suspiciously, sensing the power radiating from her, but she was prepared for this. Drawing upon her magic, Bai Suzhen had disguised herself as a celestial messenger, a humble servant of the gods. She approached the disciples with a bowed head, her voice soft but clear. "I have come to invite the old man of the South Pole to a grand gathering of the immortals," she said, her tone respectful and deferential. The disciples, taken in by her disguise, hesitated, unsure of how to respond. While the disciples went to announce the messenger's arrival, Bai Suzhen seized the moment. She moved swiftly, her hands deftly plucking the precious leaves of the immortal herb from a nearby bush. But as she turned to leave, the disciples returned and realized they had been deceived. With a shout, they transformed back into their true forms, giant cranes with sharp beaks and powerful wings, and gave chase. Bai Suzhen, clutching the herb tightly, fled across the bridge, her heart racing. She knew she had only moments before they caught up with her. As the cranes closed in, she summoned all her remaining strength and magic, hurling a glowing orb at one of the cranes to slow it down. But the other crane was too fast, its long beak snapping at her heels. Just as it seemed the crane would catch her, Bai Suzhen placed the herb under her tongue, hoping its magic would protect her. The herb's power was immense, but it had an unintended effect. It forced Bai Suzhen into her true form, revealing her as a massive white serpent. The two beings clashed, their forms entwined in a fierce struggle. It was then that the old man of the South Pole appeared, his presence commanding and serene. He stopped the battle with a mere wave of his hand. He looked upon Bai Suzhen with curiosity, his ancient eyes filled with both wisdom and pity. "Why," he asked, "would you risk your life to steal this herb when you are already an immortal?" Bai Suzhen, exhausted, transformed back into her human form. With tears in her eyes, she explained her love for Xu Xian, the man she had vowed to save at any cost. She spoke of their deep connection, a bond that transcended over 1,000 years. Long ago, when Bai Suzhen was a small snake, a beggar was about to kill her when a kind passerby rescued her. That passerby was Xu Xian in a previous life, and their souls had been karmically connected since that day. Bai Suzhen could not bear to live without him, even if it meant risking her own life. The old man listened in silence, his expression unreadable. After a long pause, he sighed deeply, moved by her words. "Very well," he said, his voice gentle. "You may take the herb and return to your husband. But remember, the path you walk will be fraught with danger, and not all will see your love as pure." With a wave of his hand, the old man released Bai Suzhen, allowing her to leave the mountain with the precious herb. She thanked him and quickly departed, her heart filled with the hope of reviving Xu Xian and restoring the life they had once shared. Bai Suzhen had successfully secured the immortal herb, but her journey was far from over. As she descended from Mount Kunlun, she knew that returning to Xu Xian and reviving him would not be the end of their struggles. The monk Fa Hai, who had given the real Ga wine, starting events leading to Xu Xian's death, was still determined to separate them, convinced that their love was unnatural and dangerous. As soon as she returned home, she immediately administered the herb to Xu Xian. As the magical leaves dissolved in his mouth, life slowly returned to his body. Xu Xian's eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, confusion clouded his face. But then, as his gaze focused on Bai Suzhen, a warm smile spread across his lips. Despite the terrifying revelation of her true form, his love for her remained unchanged. Demon or not, she was still the woman he had married, and seeing her alive and by his side brought him immense relief. Bai Suzhen knew that Fa Hai would not rest until he had driven a wedge between them. Her fears were soon realized when Xu Xian received an invitation to the grand opening of Jinshan Temple, a new and magnificent structure built under Fa Hai's supervision. Her heart sank when she saw the invitation. She knew it was a trap, another of Fa Hai's schemes to separate them. She pleaded with Xu Xian not to attend, warning him of the dangers that awaited him at the temple. But Xu Xian, a devout Buddhist, felt an obligation to go, believing it would be disrespectful to ignore the invitation of a temple so grand. Left with no choice, Bai Suzhen accompanied Xu Xian, hoping to protect him from whatever Fa Hai had planned. As they approached Jinshan Temple, Bai Suzhen grew tense. The grand structure loomed ahead, its golden spires reaching towards the heavens, a symbol of divine power and authority. Inside the temple, Fa Hai was waiting. The moment he saw Xu Xian and Bai Suzhen, his eyes narrowed, filled with a mix of righteous fury and determination. He knew that Bai Suzhen was a demon, and in his eyes their union was an abomination that had to be destroyed. He would stop at nothing to separate them, believing that he was acting in accordance with divine will. As Xu Xian and Bai Suzhen entered the temple, Fa Hai confronted them, his voice booming with authority. He demanded that Xu Xian leave his demonic wife and renounce their marriage, insisting that it was the only way to save his soul. Xu Xian, torn, looked to Bai Suzhen, who remained calm but defiant. Bai Suzhen's love for Xu Xian, stronger than any fear, stood her ground. She pleaded with Fa Hai, trying to reason with him, explaining that her love for Xu Xian was genuine and that she had never harmed him or anyone else. But Fa Hai would not be swayed. He saw only the demon before him, not the love that bound her to Xu Xian. In a final desperate attempt to separate them, Fa Hai invoked powerful incantations, summoning divine forces to imprison Bai Suzhen. The ground trembled as his magic took hold, and in an instant, Bai Suzhen found herself surrounded by a golden light, a cage of pure energy meant to contain her. Xu Xian, horrified, tried to free his wife, but Fa Hai's power was too great. The monk, with a gesture, cast him aside, ensuring that he could not interfere. Bai Suzhen, trapped within the magical prison, looked at Xu Xian one last time, her eyes filled with sorrow and love. She knew that this might be the end, but she remained determined to protect him, no matter the cost. With a final incantation, Fa Hai completed the spell, sealing Bai Suzhen beneath the Leifeng Pagoda. The temple shook with the power of the magic, and as the dust settled, Bai Suzhen was gone. Xu Xian, devastated by the loss of his wife, was left alone, his heart shattered by the monk's actions. He fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face as the reality of what had happened began to sink in. His beloved Bai Suzhen was gone, and with her, the life they had fought so hard to build was torn apart. As the ground sealed Bai Suzhen beneath the rising Leifeng Pagoda, Xu Xian's world turned cold and empty. The vibrant life he had known with Bai Suzhen, filled with love and warmth, was now a distant memory, swallowed by the harsh reality of Fa Hai's relentless pursuit. Trembling and shattered, he knelt in the temple, surrounded by monks who resumed their chants as if nothing had changed, their voices like echoes in a hollow cavern. The world felt distant, as though he were trapped in a nightmare from which he could not wake. His beloved wife, the woman who had shown him and others love and kindness beyond anything he had ever known, was now sealed away, imprisoned beneath the Leifeng Pagoda by the very monk who claimed to serve justice and righteousness. Xu Xian's mind raced, replaying the events over and over. He had failed her. Despite his love, despite his promises, he had been powerless to protect Bai Suzhen from Fa Hai's wrath. The guilt weighed heavily on his heart, crushing him under the realization that his actions had played a part in her capture. If only he had listened to her and not gone to the temple, perhaps things would have been different. But it was too late for regrets. The pagoda stood as an immovable reminder of his loss, and Xu Xian felt as though the light had gone out of his life. In his grief, Xu Xian returned to their home, the place where he and Bai Suzhen had once been so happy. But now, the house felt empty and cold, the memories of their life together only deepening his sorrow. He could no longer bear to stay there, surrounded by the remnants of a love that had been so cruelly torn from him. The laughter, the warmth, the love. They were all ghosts now, haunting every room, every corner. Unable to find peace, Xu Xian made his way back to the Leifeng Pagoda and began to pray. He prayed for Bai Suzhen's safety, for her release, and for forgiveness, for being too weak to save her. Day after day, Xu Xian returned to the pagoda, his heart heavy with despair, his prayers unceasing. He refused to leave, even as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months. His devotion became his only solace, the only way he knew to keep Bai Suzhen's memory alive. The townspeople who had once marveled at his and Bai Suzhen's love now watched him with pity. They saw a man broken by grief, a shadow of his former self. But Xu Xian cared little for their pity. All that mattered to him was the woman he loved, now imprisoned within the pagoda's cold, unyielding walls. As time passed, Xu Xian's health began to decline. He ate little, slept even less, his body wasting away as his spirit remained tethered to the past. His once bright eyes were now dull, reflecting the emptiness he felt inside. The world moved on around him, but for Xu Xian, time had stopped the day Bai Suzhen was taken from him. Yet despite the overwhelming despair, a small, flickering flame of hope remained in Xu Xian's heart. He believed that one day the heavens would hear his prayers, that one day Bai Suzhen would be freed from her prison. It was this hope, however faint, that kept him alive, that kept him returning to the pagoda day after day, year after year. Xu Xian's despair was profound, but his love for Bai Suzhen was unwavering, and so he continued to pray, his voice a constant plea to the gods, his heart refusing to give up on the love that had defined his life. He would wait as long as it took for the day when they could be reunited, when the cruel chains of fate would be broken, and he and Bai Suzhen could be together once more.